So one thing that comes up and has been thrown back at me by people that are um, well today by a particular person that's there was still the potential that he was more innocently um, intertwined with Trisha for a little bit because of the Hallelujah Scriptures thing or whatever. He's not. He's I don't know. They're not going to tell me verbatim, but there's a strong possibility that he knew exactly who she was, what she was about, and that you know they they may have known each other long before he did this whole stuff. Supposedly because he was. Anyways, what they're saying the whole the whole thing about Hallelujah Scriptures and like Trisha's being this Trisha and kids being this random family being affected that he discovered and was trying to help, that may not be the truth. They may have already known each other, and this whole thing may be more orchestrated than that between them. And that's based off of his reaction to me trying to get him to comment on some of the developments since then. And there's a particular fact that um, like I don't bother throwing the word narcissist around a whole lot, but there's a particular point which I will say that he's being very blatantly narcissistic about, and that is the fact is he endorsed. He did interviews with Trisha. He did interviews with Aaron. He spoke highly of both. He spoke highly of each to each other during their stuff. Um, so, you know, and then after that to then turn around and have uh, Trisha accused Aaron of raping Allison. And when I told him that Aaron never raped Allison, he said, I never said he did. And I said, I didn't say you said he did. And so Trisha said he did. And so he's like trying to wholesale endorse Trisha, trying not to back off from any endorsements of Aaron, trying to say that uh, just slithering back in. I can't remember how he worded it. So I'm just supposedly trying to cause Trisha grief uh, because I'm mad that I was exposed for being a molesting their kids or something like that. Whatever the allegation is or whatever, something along those lines. I'm going to get to that, but that's not the case. I learned through him, through his content, and then through Trisha's own words and her own content, uh, what my kids' actual circumstances are. I'm not surprised by those circumstances. I knew when they were setting themselves up to be stuck with Trisha for better or for worse, that it was at some point or another was going to be for worse. But knowing that and kind of coming to peace with there being nothing I could do about that, and wasn't the same thing as discovering the chaos they were actually in, and especially the roller coaster ride of the allegations regarding Allison, because the very first time I heard it, I actually bought into it. Probably for the same reason that she goes for this, because it was so shocking. But for me, what managed, I don't think if she had just said he had raped her or molested her that I would immediately believe that that had happened. The fact that she was saying that she was pregnant, and I think the potential of that and the ramifications of that, the and everything, that just took the potential of her being a victim to just a new level of lifelong pain, challenges, whatever. I mean, the idea, what if she had been pregnant with a relative's child, gave birth to that child, and was then the parent of a child that is the product of not only rape but incest, and that's her future. That's the, it doesn't mean that she couldn't love a child like that or whatever, and come to some term, but that's not something that a parent desires for their child to go through, and it's so twisted, and but so it managed to slip past. Like, I know Trisha well enough and her schemes and stuff well enough to not believe any accusations she makes against anybody. I'd be totally shocked if anything ever actually panned out to be legitimate. But in this case, that just somehow slipped past. Like it, the pregnancy allegation went past the accusation and who was accused and directly to the fact that a pregnancy is going to be, well, initial thoughts was it can't be, sorry, this is combining with the thoughts at the time plus the way it played out, but the initial thought is, that's irrefutable. That's going to be self-evident. There's going to be a baby or whatever. And it's like, so for a little bit, it just kind of slipped past the checks and balances. And I'm like, you know, because it was going to be self-evident, I took it as truth at first. And it was crushing. And it was angering because she's sitting there, she's the one that set that up. And in the video, she basically says that she set it up, other than the fact that it did not occur. But had it actually occurred, she set it up. She says so. She says she knew that he had previous victims. She said that she already knows, because his dad molested her, that she that it's a generational curse, and just was trying to make the case for why. What she was trying to do was make a case for why he's guilty by association with his own dad, is what she was trying to do. And then the other part was, I think she was trying to play like she had been betrayed by him. So she said that she knew he had previous. So these things ran together and formulated a very self-incriminating statement that was actually just, I think, it's mind-boggling, and I think I'm reacting live in a video to when that really registered that she just said that. I'm like, what? So what she was trying to do, I think, was she's, on the one hand, she tried to play the betrayed person, like, I trusted him. I told my children he would say that they could trust him, and so she was trying to play that role as the parent the person whose trust was violated so horribly. But right after that, she's also trying to lay out additional pieces of information to try to add validity to her accusation. And that was that, his dad had raped her, not raped, but his dad had molested her. Turns out I've got I've got where she gave information on that in a forum. I've got a screenshot of it, and it's actually, I mean, I don't want to, that's such slippery slopes to go down. But anyways, to hear her say that he molested her, it gets a full-fledged, full-powered a full strength inference. Like, it sounds like some. See, it's hard. I'm not trying to make light of what actually happened, but I'm just saying it's implied that what actually happened was far worse than what actually happened was. So what happened was not okay, but I'm just trying to highlight the fact that she really allows it to have the impression this out.
Mic on. Mic feedback off.
She fosters the impression of it being much worse than it was. But anyways, and then she goes on from there to talk about, to try to tout the generational curse thing. And so basically, because his dad molested her, that was meant to serve as further proof that he molested Allison. People aren't going to probably catch on to that, but she throws in these little things to try to reinforce stuff, and I believe, how effective it is, I don't know, but it's there. She really spares nothing that she can spare, and if she gets anything to try to make something seem that can somehow make something seem a little more legit or believable, she'll throw that in too, of course. But the but anyways, and then she also said that he had other victims in the family, and that's not true. So, but again, she's saying that she told her kids they could trust him, and she was choosing him to be the person to help when she basically, if we want to, if we trust that she just kind of misspoke or got ahead of her, whatever, then when she had a health scare. But based on the way she even says the health scare, that she was diagnosed with tumors, and the way that she kind of pauses before saying what she was diagnosed with tells me that she kind of got ahead of herself, and the health scare that she's trying to allude to was just something used probably to manipulate the children, maybe to explain why she wasn't working or something like that. It looks like she put herself in a corner to put that into the video unwittingly. Like, there's no other reason. Like, there's no diagnosis for tumors, and if you really did have a cancer scare or something, why do you got to keep it a secret at that point? If that was really the case, that fit what she was describing, why would you try not to say it? Unless it's the fact that maybe people have challenged her for smoking a carton of cigarettes a week. I don't know. But anyways, so that didn't happen, and in the process of lying about it, I that's my take. That's the only sense I can make of what she said. But I'm like, shoot, let's take her. I mean, other than the fact that Aaron did not rape Allison, and as far as I know, nobody did. Thank God. But so he's not actually guilty. But if he or somebody else being accused had been, and she had said what she had said, I'd be like, let's take her at full face value, guys. She convinced her kids to trust this guy, and had a health scare, and wanted him to be the one that they stayed with during that. All the while, she knew that he, like father, like son, he had molested other victims, other people in the family, and yet she was causing her kids to trust him and be alone with him, and creating opportunities for him to victimize them too. And that's what I'd want to take at face value. That's what she's saying in that video, except the person that she's accusing wasn't guilty, and so she's confessing to something that isn't even true, but it was all part of trying to make the case that he's guilty and he violated her trust at the same time. But when she makes the case for, but the two things overlap. And anyways, so that's in the video. Where I'm going at though is this guy was like, he was just lashing on, like, to just like blatantly saying I molested my kids, that I molested Allison or whatever. And it's in that video, like the video I had the screen of the chat on there. So I'm going to point this out. This is it's also like after all these years. So the date this was filed was May 16th of 2018, and this was Trish's motion to modify custody. And of course she lies on this. So this petition starts off with lies, and but I don't think they worry too much about if you lie on the petition these days. They're just like, they kind of it's almost like they expect it. Like, let's just put stuff in motion. it puts kids back into the balance for lawyers to overcharge to play the game with, and that's what it's meant to do. So whether the truthfulness on this is not something that'll ever be an issue, or the lack thereof for Trisha. So, oh, the air conditioner kicking on. I was wondering if it was raining. Okay, so, anyways, I forgot you have to have some kind of cause, some kind of reason to want to modify custody. You have to state that there's reasons. But guess what? You just have to state reasons. You don't have to actually support them. I mean, of course, that's what the trial is supposed to be for, of course, but I digress. So the reason is here in item 6 says since the entry of the decree of divorce and dissolution of marriage, there has been a substantial, material, and permanent change of condition regarding the respondent's conduct relating to the custody and visitation of the party's minor children, to wit, A, the respondent, and this is what she's alleging against me, has withheld the children from the petitioner for approximately blank months, so they didn't even fill in the date, which has interfered with the parent-child relationship between the petitioner/mother and her minor children. And B, the respondent/father is physically and emotionally abusive to the children. Again, just an allegation. And then C, the respondent/father does not provide adequate food, clothing, and shelter for the children. They had better of that on all of those fronts than they do in her care. And it was just another false basis allegation. She literally just, okay, I need to say stuff, I'll say stuff. But where is the allegations of sexual abuse? And then something my kids, I don't think, put together. I think I tried to point this out to them, but they still, I don't think they have time. They didn't have time for fair reason to settle in before they were already back getting more manipulation and brainwashing from their mom and the crooked counselor and other stuff. But okay. Oh wait, it says the current conditions are detrimental to the health, safety, and the children. And she said that the children would be substantially better off in the care, custody, and control of the petitioner. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. Are they substantially better off? They now are not educated. They're dropouts. Allison is an adult without a diploma. She might have a fake homemade one, but she did not graduate school. She did not, I had bought her a $700 clarinet to help her continue with band, and that immediately went to waste because she didn't continue in school. They've got the number I kept hearing that I've heard thrown around, but I've encountered more than once, is that they state that they've gone at least 2 years without any new clothes. They're clearly wearing clothes that are less than ideal. Now again, my clothes are all ragged out myself. So, it's not, if it was just their clothing looked less than ideal, like they may not care or whatever. If it's their clothes, I'm not going to nitpick over that. I'm not going to try to start something over that. If they come to me and their only issue with their mom is they're not happy with their clothes, I'd be like, okay. And if there's no I'm like, well, you're just going to have to deal with that. If you're happy with everything else, you got to take the good with the bad. Enjoy it. But, they're not going to come to me about that. I don't even know if they can freely contact me. But, okay, but anyways, but no allegations of sexual abuse of the kids. But, well, okay, and I distracted myself. The point I was going to make is they had a stepmom in their life during all this time who was still alive. No. I don't, okay. Okay, well there's...
Mic on. Mic
So-
feedback off.
I don't recall that this actual official filing was so much later. But that's right. I didn't cooperate with them when they were trying to move it from Caddo uh, to Mays County as a starting point. And, uh, 'cause I had no reason to. Like, I had a lawyer down there that could actually handle stuff if stuff restarted down there. Anyway, so this was May 16th of 2018. So this is after Rebecca had been dead, but either way, the only way that they could have been that neglected and had physical and emotional abuse and all this other stuff would be for Rebecca to have been a participating party in it or refusing to report it. And miraculously, there was never any concerns by anybody before Trisha turned up. No kids' complaints, no Rebecca complaints, and believe me, there was plenty of motive for if there had been a case to try to make false allegations like that stick. There's room to believe that some of that may have been attempted already. So, anyways, I've never molested my kids, and that's never been even suspected. Well, if it was ever like alleged to DHS or anything like that, they didn't really go with it. Actually, let me take it back. The first DHS thing, and I mean, of course, I just knew they were being weaponized. I figured Trisha was behind it, but I didn't know, how the case originates. They don't tell you. I had no idea what they were coming out for, and they come out. Rebecca's getting chemo, but I had her on speakerphone so she could hear what's going on or whatever. And I think the allegation then was that I'd sexually assaulted my daughter or whatever, or just asked. There was questions asked along those lines. They don't tell you blatantly what the allegation is or whatever, but I was relieved. I mean, I was shocked and I was relieved. Like, I think I just expected to get grilling for, like, just get grilled for every little detail of how I was as a parent or something, was my cooking so great, or I don't know. Either way, I was not prepared that the allegation was going to be like that. And they couldn't say who made the allegation or whatever. But later it all kind of came together and get this. This is how so I was wondering, like, when I tried to get some help for my kids and stuff, I couldn't get any action taken, couldn't get any help when she turned up, and I was very seriously concerned for my kids' safety, not knowing what her agenda was. Anyways, never, ever any action taken on anything like that. And I don't rush to weaponize. I don't attempt to weaponize DHS or anything like that. I literally, when there was serious concerns, and then they just have an automated reported, or I made a report regarding the abuse of the kids, but that was after, during the abandonment. No telling where Trisha actually was, so I didn't know what, if anything, they might do, but apparently the record wasn't even retrievable, or they didn't try, or they did and they didn't care. I don't know, but I reported that because it seemed like a prudent thing to do. It didn't seem to do any good in the end. But anyways, okay, sorry, I just had a little tidbit come in. I was trying to see if any more clarity came in. But regarding the sexual allegation or whatever, I was like, somehow I later learned, and it was from Allison, I believe, but I just don't know exactly how, how it came up or came to light or whatever. But apparently the allegation, the first DHS thing alleging, and I think that one went away pretty quickly. Like there was nothing there, but the Um, I mean, they think they may have only came out that one time for that one. Um, anyways, but I don't know. Somehow I found out that. Sorry, I'm just caught between not trying to figure out the story to tell, but just trying to see if I can. I'm just stuck on like those details, and it's just kind of out of order while trying to connect the dots I have. Um, and it's hard to explain, like how it's. So okay, well, let me just try to go with what I'm pretty sure I learned this from Allison herself, but part of it seems like kind of odd that I would have necessarily. But anyways, school counselors are mandatory reporters, and why the conversation occurred, I guess I don't know. So drawing a lot of blanks. But anyways, essentially, I learned from Allison that she had told the counselor that her mom had said that I had sexually assaulted her or molested her or something along those lines. So Allison, yeah, Allison said that she had told the counselor that she had been told that. Now, why the counselor and Allison were even talking, I don't recall. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. So I can't remember that part, and that was part of what was tripping me up. Like I don't trying to put it all together, like how these pieces fit. But the key takeaway there is, for one, I've never assaulted, sexually abused my daughters where it would really be important to bring up and handle. There's no there. There's no police reports of anything. There was no, it's just like, um, that's the MO for Trisha, to make these accusations, but she's never once supposedly so concerned, and it's so terrible that children are being victimized, but never ever 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 once has ever called law enforcement on anybody. Even though she's got all these different things she what likes to allege against people, um, she never tries to actually get them protected, get justice. Yeah. No, she just wants, for some reason, for her, it's enough to have the court of public Hebrew roots cults in the mix, um, and that's why, because she doesn't face accountability among the Hebrew roots people. Even if she's exposed, uh, people just let it go, and so she carries on, uh, and and then she gets to pop up freely and destroy somebody else later, um, from as though nobody, and possibly she could be within a circle where people don't really know who she is or whatever. But anyways, um, so there's a reason why gossip is equated to murder, and but she she's only been able to get away with one actual murder, but she murders through gossip nonstop. The actual murder, and so I'm not saying this absolutely, but there's evidence, tangible, reasonable, sensible evidence uh, that was present at the time that Rebecca, my kid's stepmom, my late wife, we weren't legally married, but she was trying to sue me for divorce over common law marriage, which if that's the way she wants to treat me, for referring to her as my wife so I could get FMLA and help our family survive her cancer battle, then, may she rest in peace. She got to do it her way. But anyways, um, so all these allegations against me, as far as this modified thing, by implication, that meant that she was part of that too. So here she is dead, and Trisha's happy to put her legacy down as somebody that was cool with child neglect and abuse or whatever. But it didn't occur, and that was never substantiated that I'm aware of. The same thing with Allison's never been molested Okay, so Allison's never been molested
Mic
or raped
on. Mic feedback off.
by anybody that I know of. Now, that I know of is unfortunately some keywords, because obviously Trisha doesn't prioritize her safety and well-being. So, while they're homeless by rivers at Parable of the Vineyard and stuff and everything else going on, um, for every little bit of stuff she tries to put in there to paint them in a creepy light is just further evidence of how her incompetence endangers the children, because she was incapable of going and picking up Allison from Parable of the Vineyard. That's all. So while that GoFundMe money didn't help her get the kids into a suitable living uh, quarters, uh, she did squander a bunch of it renting a truck um, and driving like clear across the state, because where they were at was at the far southern end of Arkansas, and then Parable of the Vineyard and stuff being up there in Missouri. So, anyways, so I believe there was like maybe ended up being 2 round trips, or there was at least 1 round trip from like, because she rented it for Aaron to bring her back or something like that. But anyways, so there was a big chunk of GoFundMe money just squandered because she's irresponsible. Um, you know, if there was enough money coming in to rent that truck, couldn't somebody have already been helping her shop for cars or try to get her license or tag whatever she already supposedly had? But anyways, but even then, like, she talked about a truck that they were miraculously received or whatever, but that it wasn't tagged or whatever. But turns out, if I understand correctly now, that truck that she's actually like was gifted to them directly or something was actually like a truck that Hallelujah Scriptures had bought, that the title either never arrived or was lost, never found, and all the mess they had going on. And so uh, I don't think that was actually meant to be their personal vehicle uh, as far as they would own it. I think it was meant to be a vehicle they had use of. Was probably going to be owned by Hallelujah Scriptures, but I digress. Um, Still, either way, she didn't manage to handle business even for that. So, um, so anyways, getting back to this stuff, alleging all these things. I just have never sexually assaulted my children, never at all in any way. There's nothing. Excuse me. It's a terrible place to pause, but I guess I'm trying to figure out how best to unequivocally say this. Like, it just feels like, for full effect, let me say this with full effect, but I mean, it should be enough to say never, simply that, but like, I'm not just wanting to say never, I never have or whatever, but like however I could say that to leave, like, to make it clear, like there's no hint, trace, there's nothing that could be misconstrued as that whatsoever. There's nothing. I've never done anything sexual to any of my children ever. And on top of that, it's such a weird place to draw a blank, because it's 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 not like having to come up with it. It's like knowing what I'm wanting to say, but then just struggling to word it. But it's not that. So um, geez. Okay, so this. Okay, so what I was going to say, and I should have said it first off, is just that rather more than just not ever assaulting my daughters, it's been any of my kids, but it's been my mission. I've doubled down, or how do I word that? I've been like it's very actively important to me that they never are victims of that, and that resolve. Uh, I that's what was tripping me up. Is like where that result, trying to explain or the resolve, like how it originates, and um, there, it's because there's two factors. There's the original factor, um, and that's well, it's intertwined. It's an intertwined factor, but uh, well, first off, you just don't want that to happen to your children. Okay, so like you don't have to have a reason. It should be pretty much like fair. I could kind of see you. I could kind of see a father or a parent of a child not wanting that to be something that happens to their child. I guess. So if you can't explain it, it still might be true that that's the way you feel. So like I don't feel obligated. Like I don't feel like I am not going to be believed unless I come up with a reason. But it was just more than just that. Um, so there's a few things. There is that obviously, but that's something that it's kind of a should be, and usually is a given that parents don't want their children to be assaulted. Um, but beyond that, I know that one thing that stuck with me was like seeing news stories and stuff like that. The whole almost cliche, like we had no idea, and stuff like where kids are left to the care of guys or whatever. And it's like, I it just pissed me off. Like they're not going to advertise like, hey, if you don't drop her off today, I don't think I can control myself. It's not going to be advertised. So you hear that dumb crap all the time, but it's just like, what are you thinking? What are And it still doesn't, you know, it doesn't mean that the parents were bad parents and they weren't truly somehow caught off guard. But it's the dumbest thing to hear said time and time again on news stories when people were busted for molesting children or whatever. So there's that. Like I didn't want my children to be a victim, and then that put me on extra alert that meant being diligent about it, not just not wanting it to happen. And then there's the other factor that's probably more of a factor since the separation and divorce than it was beforehand, and that's Trisha was molested. She's always talked about and just really concerned about how much those assaults could potentially be factors in why toxic women are toxic women. And so I did. If that was part of what was driving, if that was part of what caused her to become who she was, I didn't want that future for my daughters. So there was that, and then just the statistics. I don't remember verbatim. Like 1 in 5, I think, something like that. So that just further told me, like, okay, this, you know, that those numbers are too high to just sit there and and take it for granted that it's not going to happen to your children. That all of that combined was like it was very important to me that it didn't happen. I was saying diligent, and honestly, if it weren't for Rebecca, I don't know if the girls could have ever had a sleepover at anybody's house. Now I wouldn't have let them have a sleepover anywhere where there was just a single dad there, or even probably even. I mean, if I knew like it was just going to be a single adult there, period, I might have skepticism. Uh, I just what sleepovers, period, weren't the most comfortable thing for me to allow, but that was the primary concern. But I still wanted my kids to have full lives.
Mic on. Mic feedback off.
So anyway, obviously all things known or somebody tell me in advance what was possibly going to happen or whatever, I'd always err on the side of not getting my kids raped. But I did, uh, and because of Rebecca, really, I had the opportunity to. I was challenged to really give a little leeway for some chances, just for Allison to have the fun of spending the night at a friend's house. Um, and then later, I heard horrific things about those friends' house, and it may partially explain why, while the kids were here, I never could uh, get pests gone and have them stay gone. And then once I did the first time since they've been gone, I've never had uh, pest control issues with insects again. I live in the country, so we do get seasonal uh, mice, but they're not entrenched either. But anyways, my daughter was describing being at the friend's house that she'd have her sleepovers at, and it's terrifying in many ways. She was talking about the friend burning a cockroach off of the. I'm hoping now she's talking about the ceiling, but she may have. Oh my God, it's even worse than I reacted to at the time. Like, I think possibly that was going across the bottom of a bunk bed, but that's like. I'm wondering now if that's the case. I totally underreacted to it because that's like, what, a, so I think it was the ceiling, but I don't know what ceiling it was that they could reach. But anyways, what a horrific thing to hear. So I don't think she was ever sexually assaulted at their place, but apparently their place was quite disgusting, and it's like, ugh. That was, um, but if anyone's still paying attention, I doubt it. This is ridiculous. But hey, I stayed awake. I wasn't like drifted off. So I kind of figured I would snap back too. I didn't know what that was about earlier. But if anyone's still paying attention, I guess the point I meant to get to a little quicker uh, was just the fact that these allegations of sexual abuse are simply uh, they're they're made for gossip circles. They're made for the cult. They're made for people uh, to hear behind my back. They're made to get public influence and sway public opinions and to get people to support things without asking questions, without wanting to hear, to make people not care about a second side, to make people be really feel really bad and sad for these kids, to make them think that they have a valid reason for being fatherless when they don't. They're fatherless by choice as a result of manipulation. And anyways, it's basically, there's nobody to hold her accountable for telling the truth, so she makes a narrative that works for her. And she's, of course, I don't know if it even matters as much as it used to, but she's having to try to, it looks like it's important to her to try to make a case why she's justified in being a divorced woman. Or is she even claiming to be divorced, or does she claim to be married to somebody at this point? I have no idea. But anyways, I have never sexually assaulted my girls, never wanted to, never threatened to. They're, literally, okay, so, I mean, it's just nuts. Like Allison, and that's circular logic. So a lot of this stuff, that's another, it's all, you get this circular logic all through this whole corrupt process in the courts and with these corrupt people making these allegations and whatnot. It's all circular. No DHS investigation ever was substantiated for anything. The kids lied to the judge in the first hearing or whatever, and he gives Trisha temporary full custody and all this crap. Just everything else was just thrown out based on what they told him. And they told him that I threatened them, unless they lied to him. I think earlier I said I threatened them unless they told him the truth, but they threatened him unless I lied to him. Again, it's awkward for me to say because I don't know what I supposedly threatened them about. I literally was pleading with them to tell the truth and trust the process. And I don't think even up to court that I think I was surprised that my boys, uh, well, I was surprised that they all lied, even though I found it necessary to tell them to trust the process. Like, but I think the surprise was that they all four lied. So I knew, I guess there'd been enough going on. I knew that my girls wanted to go live with their mom or whatever, but I just tried to reason with them, trust the process. Like, uh, you know, she's, I knew her truth, and it's like there's nothing about that that was healthy and good for the kids. And if things were handled properly, that's not the way it would have went. Like, she would have needed to prove herself, which Trisha would have never did. Had my daughter not screwed up the requirement for supervised visitation, I don't think the custody would have ever changed. Uh, the fact that she had a loophole to shortchange and then get in, and then Brenda Cunningham was a partner in crime and stuff. That gave her a chance to just literally had a partner in crime for manipulating the children in a scenario where they were supposed to be safe from manipulation. And then, of course, all the while, I'm being falsely accused of just trying to alienate them from her and all this stuff. I was trying to keep them safe, but I never once tried to prevent a proper reunification. And in fact, Trisha got unsupervised visits quicker because I was late to one of their supervised visitations, whatever. I felt bad. I'd caused them to miss the visit, so Brenda said she had stuff she had to do or whatever, so she couldn't stay late or whatever. But all things considered, I went ahead and took the kids to Trisha's place or whatever. And at that point, she started to supervise some visitations over there or whatever. I don't even know if that's a normal. Now I don't even know if that would be a normal way that would proceed or whatever. But Trisha was actually being cordial. It was halfway pleasant to talk to her, and the kids were having fun playing in the yard or whatever. And literally, I gave them a chance to. I guess I let them stay the night, or else I picked them up just late that evening. I'm not sure, but I let them stay there for a while, unsupervised. And it was meant to be a goodwill gesture. I, for all that Trisha had done and everything that, or whatever, I was still giving her the benefit, giving her an opportunity to be a valid co-parent, because that's what, if it could work, if it was an option, it would have been best for the kids. And no doubt about it. It's going to be a pain in the ass. I'm going to have to something, discovering that, something I never considered, is just the drop-offs and meetings and having this extra schedule, that kind of sucked. But that was, as soon as she decided she wanted a divorce, that was going to be part of our reality, in theory. But anyways, well, but yeah, that goodwill gesture went nowhere. It was, sure, it was taken. It's like she took advantage of the opportunity, but she literally wasn't the least bit dissuaded from doing her games. But now I know what I didn't know then. When she turned up, I didn't know, I wasn't stalking her or anything like that. I don't know. Last I knew, they were in Montana, I think. I don't think I really had any updates past Montana, and I hadn't really been trying to figure anything out at that point. I'd basically the divorce was finalized. I had custody. I thought supervised visitation, so I basically thought things were settled. We were just trying to carry on with our lives. And so when she did turn up, it was good. Thank God I was able to learn what I did about her. Like this, for everything that's gone through, it hasn't made the difference it should have made anywhere, but it helps me to know the truth and everything, the full scale and scope of what she was up to and all about. And the okay,
Mic on. Mic feedback off.
so she was like, again, this is like how to word it. She, I don't know how to phrase it, but the like, I think she was still observing Sabbath. I think, but she had like set aside and acted almost like she never had any of the radical beliefs that she had before. And she may, I mean, she's always changing her beliefs and whatever. It just depends on what's going to do what for her. So maybe she had toned down some, so she may have become much more liberal than she had been uh, when she needed more strict things to manipulate people with. But in any case, uh, like the radical stuff she's returned to, it seemed like she had gotten away from that. She at least knew to pretend that she had or what have you. And I would have thought, and maybe initially it was kind of important to not dive into that stuff when trying to manipulate the kids because that was going to be too closely related to the abuse they'd actually suffered. But in any case, she certainly kept, um, she had some kind of story as if she had no longer had a relationship with Summer and Zach, um, and that's proven to be total bullshit, um, like big time bullshit. Again, not a surprise for her to lie about stuff, but um, she, anyways, just clearly, I mean, just all about doing whatever to get to manipulate and play the system and get the kids, but um, literally nothing about her had changed that should have given anyone confidence that she wouldn't potentially resort back to the same abuse. The only thing that had changed regarding abusing the kids was that they were older and had a better possibility of causing her to have some accountability of being able to reach out to somebody for themselves or whatever. But anyways, just came back total fraud as per usual, and we just see the way it went. She's been homeless so many times with all the kids and hasn't been able to keep her driver's license, hasn't held a job, and I mean she's got really good. She's got as good of employment opportunities as anybody can have. I mean, except for she willfully took herself into who knows where. Like she may have taken herself away from jobs, but she never needed to leave jobs. She never needed to leave this area. Um, and if she just wanted to, for some reason, there was still plenty of other places to go. I mean, we're talking, she's a general manager at a pizzeria in Montana. She was a manager at Kroger's, supposedly, when she first turned up at some place. She was a manager at a Qdoba when she was here, when she first got here. And just, and I've explained that before, like she's sociopathic or whatever. She will screw people over on hours, so that's one of the key places where people can save money, but you don't, I think if you have a conscience, something like stupid, short, gross time wasting split shifts are not like something you do, but she would do it. If she had have an employer she could suck her into it, she wouldn't hesitate to take up 8 hours of their day to only give them 4 hours of pay, if that helped her numbers. And so, anyways, that's kind of stuff like uh, quiet part out loud. That's the kind of ruthless people that companies want managing their stores and stuff. So she could totally get a good paying job that wouldn't be too difficult to do for her. She wouldn't lose any sleep over it at night. She'd actually be grateful to just get to push pencils or whatever. But she won't even do that. She literally lives in chaos. And I've covered that before. That's not the point here. This is just a little bit more rambling of the situation, but start off with finding that on the custody modification thing, and just going to point that out, that there's no allegations of rape anywhere where it would count. There's no reports to police. There's no allegations of it on any filings. There's no allegations of it on any DHS stuff either, barring however that first one went. But again, I think I know how that went. When I raise that also, that's another point. That's part of how she was able to weaponize DHS, and she took advantage of mandatory reporters. So she would, when they decided to try to get something to stick, she would have the kids go tell the counselor something at school. And then when I was talking about circular things here, so one of the witnesses at the final custody hearing was one of the counselors from the school. And then that counselor's there because she's not there, she's not taking sides or wasn't trying to help anything. No, she's there because she's a mandatory reporter. But what does she have to mandatory report? That Allison, or I don't know whether Allison or which kid she was saying reported, but that one or more of the kids had told her such and such. That's it. Like the kids literally met privately with the judge and spoke for themselves, however they wished to. How is the lady saying that the kids told me this one time evidence of anything else? And they were being manipulated and all of that, and literally, and I asked them, and I believe she had to acknowledge that no, before Tricia turned up on the scene, there was never any allegations made by any of my kids. You know, they were straight A students, they're honor roll students. They're just, how do you have something so terrible at home and then you have all 4 kids be bright, brilliant performers? Clinton has anger issues and he still had straight A's. But you mean to tell me that on top of, he had abuse and stuff on top of the anger issues and was still making the straight A's? I mean, he did a remarkable job. They're just brilliant kids and stuff, but still, you don't reach your potential if you're being beaten down, belittled, and all this stuff. If they were suffering any kind of horrific abuse. Now get this, they were in counseling and stuff like that, but Allison wasn't having any kind of manic episodes. None of them were on any medication. There was debate about what we should do about Clinton, and we weren't really anywhere closer to a recognized solution, but I wasn't in a hurry to try to have him put on any kind of medication for that. But that, anyways, Allison reported having some nightmares, like the night, like when Trisha first made contact or something like that. Then that gave Allison some nightmares, and I've got screenshots of Rebecca's text messages to the counselor about that, stuff like that. But otherwise, she didn't have any PTSD or anything like that. If there was just all this stuff, there was nothing going wrong, no problems reported anywhere, nothing. And then suddenly, supposedly I'm just this terrible abuser all this time, and it's just like, that's what I'm saying about the corrupt system. There's nobody stops and applies any kind of reason or logic to it. They don't. What's self-evident didn't matter either. I can't believe that DHS didn't. The people coming in for DHS didn't have an agenda, because they literally, like, they don't. Yeah, they're. I just can't believe that they didn't. You'd have to. the only alternative is that they're extremely incompetent at their jobs. I mean, how do they not? How are they not able to pick up a solid feel and discern uh, things overall pretty quickly? Because I mean, nothing of concern was even happening, and even if there was, there was nothing pointing to anything happening. So, um, anyways, all right. So I didn't mean to ramble about that, but the bottom line is, I did not abuse my kids. That's all false allegations, and so the people at the mental health
Mic
hospital,
on. Mic feedback off.
when Allison had her episode, the people at the mental health hospital were basically convinced that basically her age regression was a serious symptom. It was because of how serious the episode she was in, what she was going through was. Um, and I mean, it could be part of it, but I don't even know. You know, first off, we don't even know whether they. No, I think Aaron did say something about age regression. And I think in only one of like two different times, Trish is kind of describing this part of the situation that she alludes or she alleges or tries to make tries to hint. im- I'd say implies. I think it was an implication more than a direct statement that what what was Allison was triggered by or recalling and age regressed over and stuff was sexual assault by me. I think that's what she was claiming. Um, but it was really her actual abuse of Allison, and so I think it's just I think Allison's in crisis. She's an adult. She literally had gone to Oklahoma with some friends of hers, who Aaron wouldn't name, but you know, so she's got friends that are able to drive and travel and have some freedoms, and they're adults, and so that's Allison. Allison, they were saying that Allison had a manic episode, but that was partially encouraged by an energy drink she was drinking, and I can speak from my own experience with. I'm diagnosed bipolar. Uh, could be the case, but the for me, anything I experience that's like that might be equated to mania isn't really inexplicable. I'm I'm dealing with such a weight of junk all the time that when I catch a break from that, something's really positive or whatever, uh, and as a mechanic and as somebody who understands physics quite well and stuff like that, it's it's literally so much of life coincides with each other. That's why we can do analogies and parables and things. And so if you have a car or a truck that's got a lot of weight on it and you take that weight off, that thing is going to spring up. I mean, if you were to suddenly take that weight off, it'd spring up. And compared to how it was riding, it's going to be just feeling much better, much lighter, and, you know, feel like a whole different vehicle or whatever. And so uh, you get some positive vibes when you've been in a long period of depression, stuff like that. It it completely makes sense that you might over rebound. Be you know I mean, do we not say that the part of the reason for suffering is like it takes some of the bad to make the good appreciated as good. Like if everything was great, then nothing would really be great because it'd all be the same. So the good and the bad kind of together help the good be better, and sometimes it makes the bad worse. But that's kind of dealing with what I've dealt with and everything. A good break from that would do that, and I think there's a strong possibility that that's what was happening with Allison. she had broken free and was with friends, and she didn't have like Trisha didn't know where she'd gone. She didn't get permission to go or anything. She just did it apparently. But she wasn't Aaron's direct guest at Parable of the Vineyard. Those her and her friends just came back there. But Allison was drinking an energy drink on top of that, and so guys, Allison was having some freedom that she hadn't, and some fun that she hadn't had in ages. It sounds like, and realizing that I think it was occurring to her that she was an adult. She was 19, so that she was recognizing that she didn't have to go back, and at the same time being free of the reinforcement of those things, and probably trying to figure out that just somewhere in there it was just a reality check, like that when she realized she could be free. I think that also set her free from repressing the abuse, however that was repressed initially, whether whether Allison willfully did any part of that or whether it was really off the chains manipulation or whatever. I don't know, but whatever was done apparently was weakened uh, by this manic episode or what have you. But as far as Allison's age regression, uh, I picked up on that through texting with her, and I've confronted her about it many times. And I've been telling her that she still sounds like she's 14 because she's stuck on these lies from the past. Like there's literally her whole life is a lie, and it's based on lies that are old news at that, and stuff that would have already healed. Like even in a worst case scenario, it actually affected them as much as they claim it did. It would be healing. It wouldn't be as strong by now. There would be no reason for it to be, and that's not the way they. That's not the way. That's not the way things are going at all. They're still very much apparently dysfunctional, broken, having issues and daddy issues and all kinds of stuff. That's all claimed. They're supposedly just as bad off as day one, which means one thing: there is nothing nurturing or restorative about the care and the situation they're in with Trisha. Plain and simple. Um, and I'll go further. I'll give it an example. Okay. Well, so. This is the picture they posed for that guy for the grift, right? For the GoFundMe picture. Um, so best picture I've seen of the kids since they've been gone that I know of. But honestly, I had a bunch on my phone. Oh man, hopefully they're not lost. But I didn't bother looking at the time. I say hopefully, like I didn't intend to never look at them. I just had no reason to look at them at the time. I didn't mean to lose them though, but I've had some mishaps with some phones. All right, what am I doing? Wasn't trying to look at it. Let's go with this one. Okay, now one of these slideshows are extended, so if it's this one, then that could be problematic. Okay, so that's the kids' first day of school they had with me. That's me with them in the summer of 2011, the summer before the separation I was blindsided by. That's me taking a picture of them. We had a walk of the ways away. This is pretty close to where our house was in North Dakota. And we walked over there and got that amazing picture. And this is my last picture of all of them together, I'm pretty sure. Certainly of them posing, most likely. And anyways, they're all very happy there. There was no outside influences. They were just in my care at that time. And they were happy. We just had a fun trip to that park. That's just a local, simple park. It's not like it was anything over the top, but they had a good time. They weren't living in terror or fear or suffering all this crazy distress and crap that's they supposedly suffer now. All right. Geez. As soon as I get my head in the game, I'm going to... Okay, so I'm trying to turn that off. I'm turning that off. Now this is kids 2. Oh, I guess that's not about. Okay. So I thought I had already located a picture of. Oh, I turned my monitor off. Of them on their when I first got them back, but it's there. The what they looked like when I first got them back from my sister. I mean, you can just see it. And then some of the abuse that happened to Allison, they cut hair off short, intentionally trying to tell her it was a boy's haircut to shame her and making her wear a liar hat. They made her wear it in public, and of course, uh, you got the parents that love the idea of humiliating children as a way to cure their lying and stuff. Again, the general public doesn't seem to care whether or not, no one cares about actually whether or not things are true.
Mic on.
Okay, so
Mic on. Mic feedback off.
um, man, I know I was gonna get that picture where it's usable, but I didn't quite follow through apparently, and I don't know how easily I could find it at the moment. Um, but anyways, that's enough for this video. So meandering through stuff again. I don't know what all points I made or whatever, but hopefully um, I'm just a father, a very legitimate father and I've been gaslit a whole lot. Um, so like just to say that I'm a legitimate father and just I mean it should go without saying that I'm not trying to say that I'm perfect or anything like that. But anytime I've just tried to state my defense or just honestly point out that I've legit doing what I know to do, the best I know to do, or certainly no intentional abuse, absolutely no intentional abuse, and I would dispute any abuse at all. I mean, anyways, almost get the need to try to disclaim that further that I'm not trying to say I'm perfect and stuff like that. That should go without saying that a person can defend themselves as being a legitimate, loving parent, non-abusive, without trying to claim that they don't ever make mistakes, without having to disclaim that they aren't saying they never make mistakes. It's never been about claiming to be perfect. It's about the false accusations being false accusations, and so many of them being not only false, but the exact opposite of the truth. Denying me acknowledgement for commendable things I do, and replacing them with the opposite of false accusations of things that I don't do. So, and this is on every front, every level, anywhere it's possible. And I can tell you guys with these cults and stuff, and just religious people in general, there's a lot of opportunities where it's perfectly possible to really hammer somebody um, without any matter being properly proven or whatever. Um, okay, and seemed like there was something else. I'm leaning towards wrapping this up right now, but um, um, okay. Well, I'll just end it with this, like come full circle with this, that I'm not finally turning up after this many years. I'm not slithering in, as he said, this many years after being out of my kid's life because I molested them or anything like that. That is all totally false horseshit out of a demon's mouth. And that includes anybody that's repeating that. Nobody is repeating that with any uh, Torah basis for repeating that. There's no godly basis. There's no innocent, decent human being basis for repeating those allegations as though they're definitely true. And I honestly, because it's so untrue, the, I mean, somehow persuading people to join in on this cockamamie bullshit, this toxic shit, false accusations, stuff like that, enables them to do all kinds of damage and destruction and stuff like that. But I can tell you, the opposite is not true. If tomorrow everybody understood and believed me at face value and accepted the fact that, wow, there's no evidence against this guy, and just I could just go through and get full credit from everybody at face value that I'm completely and totally legit, it would not change. It probably would not lead to any changes or any ability to change anything about custody hearings or anything like that. Um, so, like, coming here and like defending my name as if that's going to change anything is pointless or whatever. But so why am I doing it? What's my point? No. I don't just think, for one, people should have an opportunity to know the truth. Uh, and there's a real danger here that goes beyond just me and my kids. Um, and you know, it would be really good and great if at least a few people out there were aware of that and knew to watch for it and warn about it. Um, or just watch, just to be aware enough to know that you're going to want to watch and try to make, if something's weird, try to figure out how it connects when it comes to Trisha or anybody that Trisha's endorsed or that has endorsed Trisha. You know, they'll, anyone pays attention long enough, they should be able to start to, if it's not already in the open for some reason, they should be able to start to pick out. I think I'm tired of space, but start to recognize or I think I'm just kind of not enough thing. It's kind of like blurring like half a minute. Anyways, because it's like an analogy, and I don't know how to explain it now with what I was trying to say. Um, but you know, the idea is that if someone knew the basic truth or whatever, then they could then make better sense of what they're actually seeing, and maybe recognize things that are not as clearly visible or whatever, that kind of help paint the picture that they really need to be aware of, especially regarding Trisha. And right now, there's no reason for it. There's no reason for who I am to matter to anybody. I'm not in a circle. I'm not causing anyone any grief. I am legitimately, that's what's not debated. No one's questioning whether I'm legitimately the kid's father and turning up. So I clearly have a reason to have concerns about this. It is my business. As far as slithering up after all these years, I think in my videos, if anyone pays attention to them, the gist of it becomes pretty obvious. My kids lied to a judge that threw out a joint custody agreement agreed to, ready to be signed by the judge from both lawyers because of their lies to him. And all I know from the lies is that they said I threatened them unless they lied to him. And then what I actually supposedly threatened them with or whatever, I have no idea. I haven't even paid attention to whether or not um, I don't know. That was like a half of a daydream. Like I was like, started picturing like this rooftop theme and a big balloon, and I'm literally like dreaming while awake. I'm starting to kind of picture some stuff like in analogies or whatever. But um, anyways, the it doesn't it doesn't matter to me whether anyone in this community believes me. Uh, I'd like to say it doesn't matter if they even care about the truth, but that's a lie. And for my kids' sake, I would like them to care about some truth, so that there's at least some kind of avenue uh, that may be helpful at some point. Um, anyways, but the the real benefit of me speaking this stuff, really, it's for anyone that will take heed. It's warnings. It's like this is insanity that you're tolerating and being subjected to, and, and if somebody's just being silent as it goes by, like if you recognize something crazy and out of place, so if something gets your attention to something, you should be calling out, acting on, or whatever. Um, then you need to do that. Is it really dead this time?
Mic on.
Oh no.
Mic
There we go.
feedback
Okay.
off.
So, where am I going? Like, this is truth matters, and where the consequences are for lies being tolerated and truth being uh, people not caring about truth, people seeing truth but allowing a lie to prosper when they could have actually stood up for the truth. Uh, where all these things devolve to when it's not valued, uh, I don't I don't know if there's a I don't think there's a limit to how much it can devolve into nasty, terrible situations, and who might be in danger of getting caught up in some of those things. I can tell you that schemers are never satisfied. Schemers and scammers and frauds and stuff like that. So um, there any opportunity to do anything of this sort that Trisha and them get um, for any reason that benefits or motivates them, because I don't think they always even have to have any kind of financial gain from it. Um, I think sometimes it might just be the power trip that they like. But anyways, yeah, they're gonna take it, and the more they get away with, the more they do, um, and they literally share. They, I'm having like a weird electrical type chest pain surging right there. I don't know what triggered that. It's kind of alarming. Not short of breath or anything else, but and just out of nowhere, kind of. But anyways, this is not without consequence. It's not okay. And then for all these people that don't like scrutiny of the cult and stuff, uh, shouldn't it matter to you? Hopefully it was okay that the cult. Should you care whether the cult polices itself? So, anyways, there's kids at stake. Their lives have already been, their childhoods have been ruined. Uh, they don't know what they're missing. Um, and all this stuff too just reinforces the fact that God relates to us as a Father. And that's, anyways. Um, I don't know what this is about. Like, maybe I was just sitting in a weird position. I think some of what at the actual surf, uh, think like a heart attack feels like electrical. It's not even on the right side of my chest, right? And anything that caused me concerns before um, has checked out to be. But it's disturbingly sharp, whatever's kicked in. Um, anyways, so I'm looking for some aspirin, just take no chances. I'm a single father of a son whose mother has passed away, and that's the only reason I've ever been to a hospital for chest pains, because I would hate to have got it wrong and him suffer who knows what for who knows how long and whatever, no telling what happens for him going forward just because I shrugged something off. So anyways, so right now I'm finding this, but that's where it comes full circle, guys. The truth matters, and honestly, when people mock roots and they talk about it in a cult and they have really uh, they mean things. They don't mean it like that, but they have really harsh opinions or whatever, like no love, and I mean I came across that way on some of what I've said about it. Um, they do it to themselves.
Mic off. Mic on.
And the biggest threats to any legitimacy for messianic type faiths, Hebrew roots, and the 9 yards, is the people that are playing the game themselves. So, and I think a lot of people are duped. I'm not an active participant in Hebrew roots, so I don't know what the themes are now, because I definitely, it seems like things have loosened way up regarding marriage. And so that might be a bad sign that Trisha and her gang aren't the only ones that are paving ways to run with their various lusts that they want to pretend they don't have, that they want to pretend that everybody else are consumed by, convenience and whatever. Anyways, like when I was active, at least the elements of it that I was exposed to, like there were some people like trying to make a case for plural marriages or whatever, but there's also really prevailing really I think that's the best way to word it, really strict ideas of what it meant to be married and who or who could not be remarried, and some people were making the case that nobody could remarry under any circumstance. And then there was also the whole thing of people trying to say that their spouses had to return to them. And again, some of those were suspiciously self-serving scenarios, and could very well involve somebody that was mad that he lost control over a wife and was trying to, if they were in the same faith, still trying to mess with her head to try to get her to feel like she absolutely had to come back to being in proper standing with Yahuwah, or however. Anyways, there's been various circus shows throughout. Things are always changing or whatever, but there's still, it's not a very centralized faith, and it's got a lot of openings for people to self-promote themselves, and that's kind of what's going on. So, but the presence of those people and those issues doesn't mean that there's not validity to the faith, any less validity than anything else any other faith might have. But Jesus did say, "You will know them by their fruit," and from my experience, the fruit from the Hebrew roots movement is absolutely awful. But the regular church was already awful, and that's part of what allowed me to very sincerely discover Hebrew roots uh, when I did. So there's that. You know, are you? Is there a race to the bottom or a race to be not quite at the bottom between the more mainstream religion and then the variant that is essentially a cult but doesn't want to be called a cult and claims that it shouldn't be the one looked at as a cult, but the other one should be the cult. You know, anyways, you see, there's already enough going on just from it being what it is, and then on top of that, to allow such blatant evil and to not properly apply equal weights and measures and standards of righteous judgment and all of those things, and to not, you know, anyways, it's just, it should matter. It should matter. Like what's true should matter. You've got a woman that tried to allege to as many of this cult as would encounter her video, that she had a witness to things that occurred at Parable of the Vineyard, and then she's alleging, anyways, she's going to do all of that, and um, oh, okay, and so,
Mic on. Mic feedback off.
okay, so how does she do all of that and people not be concerned about the fact that she doesn't get properly vetted, or to not look into that further? Um, you know, so I don't know. But there's a real problems there that people got to figure out, and that'll get back to the solution I discovered tonight. That's something that I feel really good about promoting, which is, under no circumstance, um, why do I keep how to word that? That's such a, that's like the tip of my tongue, and it's still. The word coming to mind right now is cohabitate. But anyways, the do not move in with other people just because they are claiming or even seem to be of the same faith, seem like-minded or whatever. Um, as much as we like the idea of fellowship and community is what I was looking for, the word, right, of a spiritual community and stuff like that, it's just not the people that create them. What am I saying? It appears to be that the people who are in a position to create the community and open the space and make it available uh, aren't typically they Jesus, I totally drew a blank there, but I was trying to multitask. That failed miserably. Wish I could go back and see that little clip. Um, dang. I don't know. Hopefully, maybe it's self-evident where I was going. Holy cow, man! It's like almost like I'm just hearing like a almost like the very faint remnants of an echo after speaking. Like I know I said something and then spaced out mid-statement, and I can't even get back to it. Anyways, I think this isn't covered well enough. I mean, it's just more of another meandering overview, I guess. But ultimately, one of the takeaways here, as far as defending myself and stuff, the loss of the truth not mattering, the loss of a lie, um, and the loss of lies prevailing, and people settling for false accusations and letting that prosper. All of that, the losses for the Hebrew roots community, for anybody, if anybody, that is sincere in their faith and their devotion to it, their belief in it, and their in the direction they're heading with it, and really wants to see like more people discover the truth that they believe they've found. Anybody that values sincerely the community as a legitimate uh, practice of faith, uh, that that more people that more people should discover, I guess, for lack of better words, or come to. Um, Anybody that feels that way about it or whatever and wants to just sit on the sideline and shrug off or dismiss or play along with or whatever, in any case, false accusations, false drama, unsupported claims, um, horrible, horrible accusations that reflect badly on everybody, not just the person that's made against, and all these things. If nobody cares to rein in the people that are freely going, the people that are engaging in that stuff with absolute abandon, and if nobody wants to, anybody who doesn't want to rein that in, check it in, or somehow curb it with just some kind of due diligence, uh, then you can't truly value this faith. Uh, you value some kind of semblance of it at best, or a show of it at best, that you would still have the resources to carry on with for good grief, this is another space. Um, I think somewhere in there, hopefully the point was made. Like, the fact is, um, people who are of the Hebrew roots, or even in general messianic style type of faith, for any remotely uh, valid reason in their sight, uh, should be good grief. It's going way long on that to explain that, but anyways, just should be concerned. This matters, and now again, the status of the Hebrew roots community uh, is not my concern at the moment, but but it should matter to somebody, and so I guess we'll see if anyone starts to pick up the mantle, if anyone can turn this around. But as you know, see if they reach a point that it's no longer the perfect crime to run roughshod over um, just over people. You know. Wow. Okay, that clearly was just some kind of spaced comment there too. So, all right. Well, interesting how that's hitting. I'll go ahead and start this upload, and I guess I'm going to try to make sure this chest situation calms down a little bit. Again, not the right side. I think it's the position of my arms of this chair or something like that. Probably the longest I've just sat still in this chair while yakking. So, all right. Well, there you go. If anybody was bored, then this was probably entertaining. I need to get it uploaded so I can get it off my computer. I am hurting for hard drive space these days. So, see you guys.